ladies. Welcome to Homemakers Radio. I hope you get a lot done while you listen today, and I hope you enjoy your work. This is what this is all about. I'm Mrs. Sherman, and I am making these videos for my blog. If you'd like to go over there and by pressing the link that I have provided, you'll be very welcome, and you'll be able to comment. If you don't feel like commenting on the page, you may email me, which you will find that on the left there on my blog. And also, I would like to welcome you if you are new here. And if you are new here and you don't know what this is all about, this is just something to carry around with you while you do something. I try to stay on long enough to let you clean one room or to do some tedious thing, sort a box of stuff. And I always like hearing, you can go check the comments to see what people are doing while they're listening. Now today, I'm broadcasting from the manse, and this is the guest room. And I'm broadcasting from captivity, so it's very good of you to visit the captives. And in fact, you'll be blessed by it, I hope. And one reason that I'm in here, and I used to do this when my children were little, is after I cleaned their room up, I'd go sit in there for a while to see what they would see from their perspective and what needed to be changed to comfort them and to calm them or delight them. So I would sit in their room to see what they would be looking at. So today I'm sitting in my guest room looking around to see, is it private enough? Where does the door open? Can people see through here? Does this need to be changed? Sometimes when I'm arranging the furniture, I don't really think about what it would be like to be in it. I'm just looking at it from a different perspective. It's always nice to come in and view it as a guest. And that's just a different way to view your home, especially if you've been captive for a while at home. You'll need to look at your home in different ways, and it can be quite an interesting adventure. Now, I know that we have three things that we do here, and one is to get your preparation, which means your appearance, get ready, bathe, dress, do your absolute best, put some effort into it, and make it the most. You don't know what's going to happen, do you? I mean, we can make plans, we can make our lists, but we actually don't know all the other things that are happening. And I was so glad yesterday that I did go to the effort. I was just going to forget it and think, oh, I need a day of rest, I need a day off, and from getting ready, no one's going to see me. And I was so glad I did. There were some ladies that came over, and also someone came to deliver a package, and she was standing there talking to me for a while. I was so glad I came out of my house looking like I was in charge. And so I also wanted to tell you, as far as your appearance goes, to don't sell yourself short. Don't sell your home short. Don't sell your family short by wearing the worst stuff around them. I mean, most of your children know what's hanging in your closet. They know there's a fancier dress. They know some of these things. Of course, our Sunday go-to-meeting outfits, we expect you to wear that on the special days, but for many people who aren't going anywhere, and if you're having church at home, I would really suggest you get dressed up for it and make it a special time. And also, you know, if your children are having a birthday party or you're doing something special for your family, sometimes you get busy in the kitchen, you're getting everything ready, you're getting the house ready, and you're getting the gifts wrapped, and you forget about your own appearance. But I would suggest you dress up for your children's birthday parties, because they're going to be photographs, there's going to be memories. You're also educating your children's tastes and showing them what's beautiful. If you are having a problem with your mind, focusing on getting ready and getting dressed, take something that's nice to listen to into the bathroom with you while you get dressed and while you get ready, and come out maybe with a better mood. Now, yesterday I had a difficult time with this, and it's very hard, isn't it, when you're home alone, especially if you are used to going when you want to go anywhere and getting new and stimulating ideas, or just stocking up on things, and it's just the variety. You know, variety is the spice of life, and you don't have that. Then that's why getting ready is very important, because you can control that, and you can change your appearance by what you wear, by the way you fix your hair, by your skincare, and you can make a different mood for yourself. One of the things that I have found, two of the things that I have found that have helped me the most is, we talked about adrenaline a couple of videos ago, maybe the last one, about how if you get that adrenaline going with worry, it's there to stay and it produces more, and no matter how much you try to get your mind off of it, it all comes back. I have found two things that are helpful in alleviating that, at least some of it, and one would be taking care of your appearance. You get in the bathroom, you look yourself in the mirror, you start to focus on something else. You start focusing on, does my skin need a little bit more moisturizing? Do I need to look a little bit more fresh and happy and youthful? And you start looking at yourself. Am I hardened? You look at your eyes. Are you getting hardened? Are you getting discouraged? And I want to remind you that all through the Bible, God did not favorably look at people who brought back a discouraging word in anything. And we were studying in ladies' Bible class. Still have a ladies' Bible class here, and we came across a scripture that was, we just go, Bible book by book and just read the next chapter, and that's our textbook. And it said, "Hope we have as an anchor to the soul," and I believe that was in Hebrews chapter 6. And so we looked up the word hope, and we looked up, and I described how I grew up as a fisherman's daughter in a village that we lived in after we homesteaded, where we had moved. My father sold the homestead and then went on to another adventure. So I knew all about the anchor, and I knew about working on a fishing boat as a teenager. And once that anchor has dug into the sea floor, that boat's not going anywhere. And it can rock, and there can be a storm, and there can be raging winds and waters, and that boat is going to stay. It might wobble a bit, but it's going to stay where it is. So I was explaining all this to them to get them to understand how an anchor works. And then we talked about hope. How can hope be an anchor to a soul? Well, we looked up the word hope and the old dictionary, which described it as something that you need or hope for and have some kind of anticipation of getting it. And in normal life, we say we hope for sunshine. Remember that song, Whispering Hope? Hope for the sunshine tomorrow after the shower is gone. Well, when I was really little, I remember crying if the hope didn't come. But we were taught to keep on hoping because that was the anchor to your soul, the hope itself, not the fruition of it, not the reward of it, not the getting of whatever it was you wanted, but the hope for it. And you have to keep hope alive, and then you come closer to getting what it is you're hoping for. But if you don't hope at all, it's almost a guarantee you're probably not going to get as close. So that you can look that up, and that can be one of your homeschool assignments. Look up the word hope in the Bible, see where all you can find it, and what it's. Read in context. Read the verses above it and the verses below it, and read the story around it. Look up something about it, and look up anchor and what the purpose of that is. But it was hope we have as an anchor to the soul, both steadfast and sure, it said. And so if you are having trouble with getting started because your mind is just taken up with the current political situation and you're waiting for things to settle down, that's another thing. Don't ever wait for anything to settle down in the world. It's not going to do it. It might do it for a while, and you'll relax for a little while, but then you'll be in an upheaval at the next thing that they do. You see, the world is, the earth is trying to be, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. That's what the Bible says. It belongs to God. But there are some people that think it's theirs, and they try to keep a constant uproar and a constant upheaval. And then right now the media is the source of it. They're trying to teach you that the world is in such an uproar. You need us to give you the solution to it all. And once we've got you in subjection to us, well, then things will settle down. And that explains why perfectly good countries that are free, there's always some kind of uproar. Well, these people stage these uproars to put you in submission and say, I've had enough, so that you will beg for more restrictions and more police and more monitoring of people. And the idea that these people have is so anti-God, because God wants us to learn to teach others and to have self-control and to convert. And one of the things that these people believe is that man has no control over himself. or ever can, so we have to rule over him. I'm reading an interesting book, and I hope you're getting ready. I hope you're getting dressed. I hope you're not just standing here watching me. It's very boring. But I wanted to show you my teacup today. I have shown it to you before, but I wanted to show you again because it kind of matched what I was wearing today. And it's one of those Gracie's teaware. There are several lines of teaware by this Gracie Bone China, and there's Gracie teaware, there's Stitch Call, and there's Grace's teaware. It's just different kinds of names. And then somebody sent me in the mail a little bag of tea called Wild Raspberry Hibiscus. I'm really looking forward to having some of this. And these days, I don't make a pot of tea unless I have a group of people here. I just keep my kettle warm and hot, and I pour water in my cup and then dip my bag in it. It lasts a little longer because it doesn't get cold, and that way I have a fresh cup each time. So ladies, I hope that you are getting ready, and I hope you're looking at your eyes. Make sure your eyes don't get too hardened. Don't get too jaded, too sad, because the Bible talks about the eyes and how it's the lamp of the body. It kind of tells you a lot when you look in someone's eyes, doesn't it? It's the lamp of, it guides your mind. It tells about your mind, and your mind guides the body, guides your actions. So the appearance is one of the things that gets my mind off of all this junk that's going around, and of course it's always going around, keeping us in a constant state of upheaval, constant state of anxiety. You can't have that. It's going to make you very sick. And if you get sick and die, you're no good to anybody. So you want to stay around for a while and do all the good you can in all the time you can. So the second thing that has really helped me, there have been times when, I've said to people, don't listen to the news, don't dwell on it, but, someone's going to tell you or you're going to find out some way. And it would aggravate me so bad the last couple days that I found that I couldn't actually function in the home. I couldn't get anything done. My mind would not, I was immobilized, and I was just like glued to my chair. I just would look around and think, I've got to do this and I've got to do that, but somehow could not make myself do it. And so I prayed that God would relieve me from this. And I think that that is one thing you need to do as a homemaker. Pray God would relieve you from this stress and that He would give you great results in your homemaking. I think you're going to find that that's going to help a lot because you're also putting the determination in your mind. You're also kind of making a decision. And the other thing that helped me was exercise. Now, if you're having a hard time getting started and you just cannot seem to focus on your home, and you're used to having a little more freedom and you're not used to being confined, I would suggest you go to that, find yourself an exercise program like I have, and it just does me a world of good. This woman had it's called Fabulous 50s, and she had a wonderful stretch session, just a few minutes, and I tried it, and I've told you I've been using the ones where you sit in a chair because I don't want to, jump around and you lose my balance. But this one was a stretch exercise that was not in a chair, and I found that just moving my neck and working out the kinks in my shoulder or my hip just relieved my mind so much that I was not even thinking about that. And also she had one new one recently that I thought was brilliant. She said use the opportunity when you're not in your house or in your exercise room for exercise. And she showed you how when you saw something that you could lean against or push against the side of a wall, or a park bench, or you could walk along these things that are on the sidewalks when you can get up on them and down on them, and it was real interesting because I live in farm country. We've got all that stuff. We've got old barns, and we've got pieces of, like railroad ties that are really, really thick, and they're used for for different things, and how to, use them. And I just thought that was so interesting to use she called it use your environment for exercise, and I'm going to be doing more of that. And even in your own house, you outside, you've checked the mail, you start to come in, you've got a step there. step up, step up, step down, and use it. It's amazing. I am so thrilled with what it's doing for me, especially in the area of anxiety. Because if you get any kind of anxiousness in over the political situation, which will never settle down, and I read to you last time I was on here of the political situation during Christ's time, and it was one upheaval after another, and it was an emperor for a few years, and then another emperor, and one would conquer another, and oh my goodness, it's hard to keep track of what all they were doing, but it was this constant upheaval. And Christ was teaching about his kingdom and how you're not supposed to be afraid or troubled, and because he was he's the emperor of our hearts, isn't he? And so, but also how to live Christ's will so that you will have that peace of mind. And that's love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this, love your neighbor as yourself, is now we're going to go into a phase, I believe, since if judging from what I'm going through, and I'm captive, I'm in captivity, and I've had so much company. I am thinking that with not so many places to go to, people are going to start going to visit each other again. And so we must be prepared and we must learn hospitality. So get on somewhere, Pinterest or somewhere. Now I've looked up hospitality on the web and even in books that I have, but it talks about in a secular way, hospitality is just, hotels and um, eating places. But in the home, hospitality is different, and there are a lot of references that you can get on how to put on just a simple tea, how to offer a simple hot cup of tea with one little thing with it, a little sandwich or something. People are now appreciating that so much more since they're not able to go to some of the uh, places that they're used to. I used to have a hard time getting people to come over. I would call them and say, I'm getting ready to put on some tea and I'm going to make some sandwiches. Would you like to come over? Oh, no, And the problem is there's so much choice out there that they would rather go somewhere where they could order what they wanted and sit down and not have to talk to anybody. And now they're coming around. And I think it's going to happen to you too, where even your children who are used to being out on their own maybe, uh, but maybe still live at home but are gone a lot, will be coming back for meals and be coming back for hospitality. And learn to set a pretty table. Learn to make everything pop. Go on Pinterest and find some ideas, just to get some ideas. You don't have to copy it exactly, but what I like to do is just use what I have and get the principle of the thing. And for me, a table has to have a centerpiece and it has to be flowers, but you can use anything. And so be prepared. Maybe start yourself a hospitality notebook with some ideas. The menus, the recipes, the table setting, what you are going to wear. That's another thing too. That's important too. And because the first thing people will see when they enter your home to accept your hospitality is you. So you've got to look like you're expecting something good to happen. You're expecting company. I'd also like to talk to you about the art of the nap, because there will be times as a homemaker. Now, as I told you before, homemaking is very isolating, and there will be times when you wish that someone was regulating you. If you're used to going to a school, a college, or the workplace, there's somebody telling you how to think all the time. They're regulating you from 9 to 5. Well, now that you're home, you've got to learn to regulate yourself, but it will be all from within your soul, from within your heart, and from within your own mind. And love will always have to be first. What would be the most kind and loving thing to do in the home? And that's how I regulate my homemaking and housekeeping. What would be the best thing for everyone's mood, everyone's health, and everyone's comfort? And that's not necessarily so when you're in a school or a workplace. So what you have to do is develop your own style of hospitality. And so when you're away from the workplace and away from schools where your mind is regulated all the time, and you get home, then you've got that big empty space in your head. You've got to fill it up. That's what these. Oh, somebody sent me a new notebook, so now I can have maybe a better schedule in here. And I also just happen to have the paper that went in it, and so that's why you have to have something like this, and you divide it up into sections. You divide it up into your daily, what you're going to do every day, so there'll be a new page for each day, or maybe one page cut, divided in several sections. And then you have different sections, like what I need to do on the web, what I need to do in the long run, like your master list, what I need to do divided up into rooms, what I need to do in each room, and my correspondence, divided up into as many areas as you can think of. Now start to monitor your own mind. Start to be your own boss and be self-employed, and to be self-governed and self-ruled. You do not have to have someone telling you what to do all the time. Now you might ask members of your family, is there anything that I can do for you, and write that down too. So, and also in the home, we're all interactive, and so the young and the old together, we're all designed. God designed the family to work together, and we don't need to be divided into age groups. And so, because we can all learn from each other, you learn more from your child than ever, because you learn what they like and how they best respond, and what frightens them and what calms them. And so I want to teach you the art of the nap. Okay, now that I'm in the guest room, thinking what the art of the nap was. Okay, well, in the olden days, we used to make these little quilts that would just lay on the end of the bed. They weren't a big blanket, but just enough, I guess, I don't know what you would call them, but they were half size, and it was so that when you wanted to lay down in your room and take a little rest, you didn't have to mess up the bed. You didn't have to get under the covers. And you pull this quilt that's laying across the, folded up and laying across the foot of the bed, and you just pull that over you. So that's what you need, and you also need to get into comfortable clothes. And there used to be something called the nap dress. Really, yes, there did. It looked like an ordinary dress, but it didn't have a lot of restrictions on it. Like, it was more pull over your head, and it was more elasticized, and you didn't have to have fasteners or anything like that. It was just, but it looked like a garment, looked like a decent dress. You could get up and go in the kitchen and get a cup of tea, and nobody would know the difference. But there used to be something called the nap dress, and ladies of leisure used to change into them and go and rest. And I noticed I was not feeling very energetic one day, and I decided I would just sit in that chair and just close my eyes for a little bit. And I believe I did sleep, but when I woke up, I felt like a brand new day had started, a brand new person. It really does revive your body. Those of you who are kind of concerned about how much your skin is aging might try the art of the nap, and see if when you wake up your skin seems more settled down, more smooth, and less lines in it. Just a suggestion. And so the art of the nap is, of course, get comfortable, have a quilt at the end of the bed, and if you're having trouble sleeping, or you don't really have to sleep, just doze a little bit. There are some marvelous things on the internet you can find that are free, that are sounds, like the sound of the ocean or the sound of a rainstorm, something that would calm you enough to let you rest, even if you don't sleep. Now, when my children were being homeschooled, I insisted that they go and take a rest. They didn't have to sleep, but just lay down on the bed for a while, look at a book. They could sit up too, and they could write a letter, but you had to have a quiet time. And I think it was from about after lunch till about 1:30 or 1 o'clock. I didn't want to push it too far, but sometimes I would say, okay, you can come out now. And they were too absorbed in what they were doing, and really were enjoying the rest, were enjoying the quiet. And so I think that's part of the art of the nap. And the other thing is to make sure that the room is the right temperature for you. Is it too cold or is it too warm? Get that straightened out too. Take off anything out of your hair that's restrictive. Loosen up a little bit. Get under that quilt that you've got, or blanket that you have, the folded blanket that you have at the end of the bed, and just rest for a little while, even if it's 20 minutes. And if after 20 minutes you haven't, really relaxed, you can get up, but get in the habit of doing that. And that's the art of the nap. Also, part of the art of the nap, get a stack of really good books and periodicals and that never have a discouraging word in them, or things of interest, things that you like to read that aren't too upsetting. I must admit I am reading a couple of upsetting books, but and I will tell you about it later. Um, but it's just to analyze them and just to see what the difference is between God's will and the will of mankind. Now, we're going to go on to the homemaking. If you're homemaking for the first time, or after being gone from home for quite a while, and in a regulated job where they're telling you everything to do, you almost can't think when you first get started. You almost can't function, because now, okay, what do I do, and does anybody care? And I would encourage you not to base your work on whether or not someone's going to see it. Don't base it on whether or not someone's going to praise you for it. Don't base it on whether or not someone's going to appreciate it. Don't base it on whether or not you're going to be able to show it off. Because if you do that, then your mind is going to say, well, I'm not expecting anybody. No one's coming over anymore. Everyone's locked down or locked up, or captive. And you're not going to be able to function if you have that as your motivation. But God will see it, and you will see it. And treat yourself nice. I enjoyed getting up this morning and walking into my living room, because I'd made an effort the night before to fix it up as though I was expecting something. I was expecting company. And I actually set the little tea table, even though I'm not expecting anyone. I set it just for the look of it, just for the expectation of it. And I also made myself some fresh bouquets out of artificial flowers, and put them around, so that would be the first thing that I would see, and also tried to imagine what it would look like if someone were coming. So I treated myself to that. When I got up this morning, I was so pleased. I felt like I was in a fancy hotel in this little manse. So the art of the nap, and also treat yourself to something good by having something to wake up to, and don't base it on whether anyone is going to appreciate it or you're going to get any kind of reward for it. Eventually, this is how you develop self-motivation, self-discipline, and self-employment, and this is how you develop it, is you develop it. Now, one of the things that I am doing as I do my homemaking is finding things that I think I might not use anymore, or think that I don't want anymore, or just some little thing, and I'm collecting it all. And I have free tables in the summer out on the highway. I've just put them right next to the highway and just let people come and get things that I don't want anymore, or that are just not useful to me anymore. And if you have children at home, one of the most fun things to do is have a shop, just a pretend shop. Get a bookshelf that's empty, or some kind of folding closet, and fill it up with these things that no one wants. They've all outgrown them, or they've worn them out, and teach them to put prices on them and to sell them to each other. I wrote about this in my book, Just Breathing the Air. And one of the things that I am doing is I'm actually having a real shop, and that is just a container and a shelf, and I'm going to put things in it that I don't want anymore. I'm having enough company now that I think they could come to my shop, and they probably don't get to go out to the shops as much as they used to, so I'll just start my own. And I think you can all do that, and you could go to each other's shops, and when people come to tea, they'll say, oh, well, let's see what she has in there that's new, and it's just everyone needs to have one. And so now that you are home and you're away from the workplace and the schools where you're constantly regulated, where your activities are regulated, where your hours are regulated, where your mind is regulated, now you can get back to letting God regulate you, letting your mind regulate you, letting the needs of your family regulate you. And so you're going to have to learn to manage your time according to the needs of that home that you're in and those people that you're with. You're going to have to manage your time according to that. And I know some people like to have a schedule, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock and everything. I've gotten away from that because I'd rather have the list, and then I can go back to it if something interrupts me. And but you have to manage your time. You can't run your house like an office. You can't run your house like a business. I know there are some people that want to do that. If you can do that, fine. But the house is full of people and memories and things to do with serving the Lord, and it has to be managed according to the opportunity, the time of day, the way everyone is feeling, according to your health, according to your taste, according to your abilities. And so everybody will be different. But I believe that after you have got dressed and got your appearance taken care of, that the next thing you should do is tackle that work. Put an apron on, a real clean apron. My goal is to try to make enough aprons so that I can wear one every day, and try to have a clean dish towel and a clean apron every day. And start managing your home according to your needs. Getting dressed is what helps you get motivated. You're getting dressed and you think, oh, I must be going somewhere. Well, I'm going to my home. I'm going to do some work. And if someone notices that you're dressed up and they ask you if you're going somewhere, say, I did this for you. I'm getting dressed for you. And hospitality is going to be big, I think, a lot bigger. And individual ladies at home are going to have to learn more about it, because and the way that I learned a lot about hospitality is observing people's reaction when they came over. Where did they sit? What did they like? Did they notice something? What did they pick up? Is there a book there that they like? What do they look at when they? What do they like to eat and drink? And what makes them enjoy coming here? And so I think it just takes a little bit of experience in order to create it. And the most fun thing is to create hospitality while your children are growing up, and just treat them as though they're coming to dinner or they're coming as a guest to tea. And what I used to like to do is move a piece of furniture somewhere that wasn't normal, like a little end table and a chair, to a different corner, and invite someone over there so that it was different. And so now that we are in captivity, I would like to suggest that you create a captivity time for yourself. And I thought of some more captivity ideas. And how about making a captivity journal or a captivity art journal and putting something beautiful in it every day? Or what about making a captivity quilt or a special captivity meal, and dig into some of the items in your pantry that you've been saving for emergency maybe. And goodness, here's another one, captivity casserole. That sounds good, doesn't it? And the other thing too is to have captivity comments, and to keep a running list of ideas of things to do in captivity. And the newsletters, I forgot to bring one, but there's one lady that all she does is she writes a letter, and she tells what she's thinking and what she's doing, and talks about her beliefs, and signs her name, and then she gets it printed off and she sends it to all her friends. And I got one of those, and that's the one that I have reprinted and give to the ladies class so they can have something to take home. And that's all she does, and it's such a big help. And because I haven't been able to get at my newsletter lately. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about how I have been reading a book about, I don't want to upset anybody. I like for you to come here and never have a discouraging word, but I might as well tell you. I've been reading a book about communism. And the reason I've been reading that is because when my children were growing up, we had the ABECA, Old World History and Geography, New World History and Geography, and it talked about the different movements in history that tried to derail God's order of things, that tried to derail countries and families and churches and beliefs, and just were so destructive. And there were things like Fabianism and Marxism and materialism and things that would describe each of these things so that children would know what it is. But later on, see, all of these homeschool books, I'm homeschooling you now, all these homeschool books are pretty general. And the idea that the way I used them is when they would read something like that, it would not tell too many details. So I say, let's look this up and get more information about it. And like Keynesian economics, we would mention it and tell why it was opposite of what God's plan was in the Bible. But it was not very detailed, so let's look up and see how we can identify it if it comes into our country. And it's the same with communism. How can we identify it so we can see where it's coming into our country? Well, the more I read this book about communism and the utter destruction, I realized it can actually start in the home if you're not careful. And it starts with a tremendous amount of arguing and disrespect um, for parents, for God, for church. That's what it is. It's rebellion. Communism is just rebellion. In fact, it's misnamed because it isn't communism at all. It's totalitarianism. It's it's the same, and you can see it in globalism, and you can see it in socialism, and even liberalism. If you say you're a liberal, you're dangerously close to that pattern of communism, because when I first moved out here out west from Texas, I'm in Oregon now, I noticed a disrespect. They're more informal out west, but there was a disrespect for people who were married and people who were older, and they didn't have any respect for them any more than and I'm talking about, let's say they were in a college or something, they talk back to their professors, they talk back to their teachers, and they also were disrespectful to people at church. Even the minister, he'd be standing there at the door and saying goodbye to everybody, and somebody'd say, well, I think I don't believe the thing you said today. And they just say it. I mean, some younger person, and we were just like, what? It's not like we thought we deserved a great honor because Mr. S had preached a sermon. It's just that I myself would never say that to anybody. It's just not a nice thing. It's just not a nice thing to say. Probably the best thing to be would, since I had trouble accepting the things that you taught today, I wonder if we could get together sometime and you could explain it to me in more detail, because I really want to understand. But instead, it was just a total dismissal, and I noticed that in this book on communism was to be disrespectful to everyone, absolutely everyone, and don't be cautious about anything you say. And I've seen it as I read it, more and more that I read about the destruction that it causes. I've seen it in the home. I have seen people come into the home and influence other people's children, just go straight across while the parents are looking on and say, you will rebel against your parents someday. just say that. And that's why I say communism isn't really communism. It is rebellion, and it is a disrespect for God. It's a disrespect for the Lord's church and for Christians and for anything that God's word says. Anything that has any kind of cohesiveness is to break it up. And so I was reading about how uh, they want to own your thoughts. They want to own your mind, and why it's so opposite of what the Bible says is that our minds and our thoughts belong to God, but they want to take it over with their mind and their thoughts because it's all about control. And it is the devil's religion, really. Communism is the devil's religion. And I was thinking about how they want to cancel your communication, and I was looking through the New Testament and trying to get an idea of how it was with all these terrible rulers in Christ's time and in the apostles' time. And they tried to stop their speech first. They always tried to stop their speech. And they say, why are you going through the city stirring up trouble? And don't speak of these things anymore. And that's what they would say. And then they would try to undermine any kind of, they were threatened by anything that people liked because it was taking attention and authority away from them. And the very fact that Christ had a different kingdom and it carried authority of the heart, like the ruling of the heart with goodness, it was very threatening. And they tried to cut off their voice, try to cut off. Remember the Apostle Paul when he was speaking, and I think it was Ephesus. Um, I've been a preacher's wife for almost 50 years, and I still don't know where everything is in the Bible. And he was trying to talk, and he was getting apparently shouted down. So what he did is he decided to write a letter to the Ephesians, and it was the church in Ephesus, which was read aloud when they got it. But when I think of it, trying to cut off our speech, trying to cut off how we're talking, and I have seen people do this in groups where, this is why I say when I read this communism book, I can see it it can start in the home where maybe someone in the family is trying to say something, and someone deliberately talks over them to keep them from saying it. They don't want that word to get out. And then another thing I've seen happen in homes is where, and even churches, where someone is saying something that they believe or reading something in the Bible and then wanting to talk about it, somebody else will attack the person. And one thing it said in this book was when they cannot logically object to a person's conversation or their beliefs, then they attack the person. And the other thing is to constantly talk over so that and wipe out people's speech so they can't hear. And that's what they were doing to Paul in Ephesus, I believe, is they were trying to drown him out. And there were other instances in the Bible where one of God's messengers was talking and the crowd would yell or try to drown them out. The other thing is when they could not refute, or the message that the person had was really bothering them, that they just attacked the messenger. And I have seen that happen too, where I've seen somebody like and this does happen in the homes too, because you get an older child that is under the influence of something or someone, and they'll start to challenge their parents' personality, and they'll say, well, you're just this or you're just that, and they start to do that. That's the beginning of it, because kids that are in rebellion can be used by communism. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the young. Those are the ones they're going to use to further their conquest of your minds, of life, of the economy, of everything. They want to control everything, and it's absolutely against God's law. It always ends in destruction, and many souls will be lost by it. There are a lot of people that say, oh, why don't we just put up with people that are talking to us like that, because if you do, they will cause one of your children, if someone is influencing one of your children or even your husband, you've got to guard, the woman is supposed to guard and guide the home. There can be people that come along and try to influence your husband to rule his home a certain way. I want you all to be very careful too, to watch out for some of the Titus 2 teachers, because these women often get so strict that all you're allowed to do as a woman is only Titus 2. You can only guide the home. You can't do anything else. And you can only teach Titus 2 if you want to be a teacher of women. That's all. You can't do anything else. But that is not what the Bible says exactly. And the reason that I say that is because you have to guard your home from some of the homemaking stuff that people publish. I know we're real curious, aren't we? We'll get a hold of a book. One of my favorites was Home Comforts, and I just got some hints and ideas in it, but I didn't let it run my life. You can't let anything like that run your life. Every family is different, and every need is different. You really have to watch the effect that some of these books have on yourself. When you stop having a sense of humor, when you stop being able to laugh, when you stop being able to really enjoy life, because you put yourself under such restrictions, that's not healthy. That's not good for the home. And it puts you in even more captivity. And, it's one thing to be physically in captivity, but it's another thing to be mentally and spiritually in captivity. And Christ said he had come to give us life and give it more abundantly, so you ought to have an abundant life. Now, if you were at work or in a school, you would be so regulated that you would have a staff of people thinking for you, and your work would be laid out in front of you. But now that you're home, it's quite a challenge, and it's very difficult sometimes. So I wanted to explain that to you so that you know that it's up to you. And you have to ask God. Sometimes I think we don't think we can do anything, but because mostly people who have not been at home all the time and haven't had a mother who is at home don't know how to regulate their time. But it will work for you once you start. It kind of falls into place by watching what everybody does. What do they do first thing in the morning? What are their needs first thing? What do you do first? Everybody's headed for the bathroom or to get dressed. That's kind of part of a schedule, isn't it? Life will follow a schedule naturally. They'll be hungry at a certain time. There'll be clothes that need to be washed at a certain time. There will be things. You'll just notice. This is what we were taught when we were growing up. Try to notice, because I was in a large family. We were out on a homestead, and my mother could not have done all the work herself. So she said, just notice anything that needs to be done. If something needs to be picked up, pick it up. Don't wait for it to be assigned to you. If something needs to be done, do it. And also, others will follow. And even though you might say, well, my brother left that toy over there, I don't care, let somebody step on it, that'll teach him a lesson. No, the compassionate thing to do be to look after each other and to take care of each other's things. The Bible talks about, don't just think about your own things, but the things of others. And so the compassionate thing is to, if you see something that needs to be done, do it. If you see something that needs to be picked up, you pick it up. Also, clean up after yourself. And some of you will notice that if after your kids have gone from home, that you don't have them to blame anymore for all the work that's there. You'll find out that you really are making more work for yourself. And don't make work for yourself. Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about a book here. And because I'm going through all my books. In fact, today's the day I'm hoping to finish that up, but I wanted to talk to you a little bit first, and that was called Back to Basics, and it's a old Reader's Digest edition, but you can still get them in very good condition. This one's in bad condition; it's all torn up. But one of the, I would not suggest that you go, dig up your backyard and try to homestead and everything back there. But this is really important because it shows your children and you how do we get water? How is electricity made? How do you, in fact, I think in here was also how to make your own paint. How to get along okay if you needed to. And that's called Back to Basics. How to learn and enjoy traditional American skills. And it was everything from how to make your own shoes to how to build a fire and how to use certain tools, how to bake bread. And I think there was even in here, how to identify different kinds of plants. And it was just about everything that you would come in contact with that was old-fashioned. How to build furniture, how to weave, how to do everything. You don't have to do all that, but you should read it and find one thing, or get your children to find one thing of interest in here and look at it and know about it, at least know about it, to be able to tell you about it, to be able to talk about it. Have you ever noticed, maybe you know something and someone's mentioned it, and so they asked you something and you started to talk about it and they weren't interested, absolutely not interested in it. So we have to learn something and learn to say it in a way that maybe capture someone's interest. But this also shows how to, how to pump water, how to make a water pump, how to pump water. Of course, we probably wouldn't do it, but wouldn't it be nice to know? And how to protect your home with trees and earth. So I'll just read a little bit about this, how to protect your home with trees and earth. You ever wonder why you see a house in an old-fashioned setting, there'd be trees around it? Winter winds, like a forced air cooling system, can cause substantial heat loss from a house. The loss is due to various effects: lowered air pressure, conduction, and evaporative cooling. Well, those children would need to know what is air pressure, what is conduction, what is evaporative cooling. Now, a lot of kids will go through, and all of us too, gone through public school and come out without a clue on how things work, you know, on how we get everything. We're born into a world where everything is, you know. And this even thinks, I think it even shows how to build a house, or that might be another one of them that I have, how to build furniture in here, and you know, what materials to use. It even tells how to go on a hike and outdoor activities. And I'll keep reading this here. Protecting your home with trees and earth. These combine to produce a temperature called the wind chill factor. Now, we've all heard about wind chill. And I think that in Alaska, when I was growing up, we were always really careful not to get, what's it called, hypothermia, where your body gets so cold that you can't get warm again. The chart at right shows how large the factor can be. For example, if during January the average outdoor temperature in your area is 10 degrees Fahrenheit, and average wind speed during the same period of 10 miles per hour will make it seem like minus 9 degrees Fahrenheit, a net difference of 19 degrees. If your house stands, that's another thing too, is you need to get a thermometer, and you need to explain temperature. If your house stands fully unprotected from the wind, the drop of 19 degrees that is therefore subjected to might be virtually eliminated if you can find a way to block the wind. As an estimate of how much fuel such a step might save, check your fuel bills for January and for a month in which the average outdoor temperature was 19 degrees above January's temperature. The difference between these costs could be quite the saving for January. Such savings can range up to 30% per year. Now, we always liked the fir trees, the spruce trees, and the ones that didn't drop their leaves, because that would keep a wonderful barrier up all the time. Various methods exist for keeping wind away from a house. One of the most aesthetically pleasing is the strategic placement of trees and shrubbery to block the wind. We have the big laurel bushes here. They go way up there. We've quit trimming it. It's so tall. Planted near the house, trees can also shade it in summer and save on air conditioning costs. Walls, trellises, and parapets can also be built onto or near the house to deflect air currents. When planning a new structure, consider the shape of the land. Slopes and hills strongly affect the way the wind blows. I think it's also important to place the house where it doesn't receive the direct weather that can wear the door down, or you just kind of check it out a little bit. Now, a lot of people will go buy a house and it'll be shown in the best of weather. It'll be shown in the summer and beautiful, but they don't know what it's going to be like in the winter. And everything has to be considered when building a house. And north, south, east, west matters as far as temperature goes. And when my father built the house on the homestead, he selected a place up on a hill above the lake. And even though there was a lower part that was flat with the lake at another end, because he wanted to get the warmest part. And also in the book it shows the directions north, south, east, or west as to why he built that. Now, I had written down some things some time ago about how I had made some things to do that every woman could probably do. Everybody has their own likes or dislikes, but I wanted to just go through them. I think I had a few of them. One was homemaking. You can learn the art of homemaking. There are ways to learn it. You can learn it yourself just by observing how your home works and what you need. And you'll learn things as you see the need for something. For instance, how to get stains out of things. And I have curtains that I have made out of cotton fabric, and every now and then there'll be a stain on one. I don't know how it got there, but I don't want to take the whole curtain down. So I found this solution that I could make that would take the stain out while it was still hanging up there, and I didn't have to take the whole thing down. Things like that. You learn the little things to create work for yourself. And now that you're in captivity, there might be more time for homemaking and really making it a pleasant place, not just doing cleaning, but really enjoying it, making it pretty. And then there was feminine dress, how to dress more femininely so that you're more distinctively womanly and getting away from the masculine look. And, and learning to sew, learning to also do things differently, learning about how your home really functions. Another one was art, literature, and music, which was something that you can teach in homeschooling, but you can learn yourself. And another one was tea time, how to put on a tea time. The reason I've emphasized tea time probably more than recipes and meals is because it's so much easier, and it doesn't take things that have to be on the table, on time, on hot. It's things that you can just store and bring out or make ahead of time, and that anyone can learn. And then I had manners. That's something that needs to be learned since we're all back at home again and we're living in close quarters, and I'm in the manse and it's small, and we need to learn to be polite to one another. Even saying excuse me as you pass each other in the narrow hall. And also to cut down on the negative talk and the complaining is very important in the home when we're dealing with people. To say rude, talking. Well, after I read that communism book, I realized that a lot of it comes from speech. It starts with the disintegration of your speech, the disintegration of your tongue, talking negative. That's the way communism starts out, and it can start in the home, and they'll use your children because they realize they identify this negative spirit and can suck you into their philosophy. It's just a very childish, rebellious philosophy against goodness, kindness, and all the things that God wants you to have. And the negative, to be polite, is to not to be constantly discouraging people's hearts. And the one thing that I have found that is very helpful is that knowing that God did not approve of people in the Bible who always brought back a negative report or a bad report. I can't do this. It can't be done. It'll never change. That's not nice. That just like plummets people's spirits. And so when you're raising your children and when you're at home, even without the children, it's best to have a an automatic answer on your tongue that is, well, let's see, maybe we can do it. Let's give it a try, and let's think, maybe we can. And if someone like when the children are around and there are little children around and they'll say, can I do this or can I do that? I'll say, well, I guess you could. There's no reason you can't. And if it's not bad for them or dangerous, and say yes. A lot of times I think people are negative because it's easier. It's just easier because if they agree with something that's good, they might have to be responsible to think something more positive or to do something about something. And it's very irresponsible just to say that something's no good and it's never going to change, because that just gives them an excuse to be lazy. They don't have to do anything. I think that's what that's all about. And so keep your home free from this kind of thing, because the Bible says whatever's good, lovely, pure, and of good report. Think on these things. God wants us to think up. I don't see any reason why you would fail in homemaking if you have that the positive attitude. And if you have a hard time getting that positive attitude, stop in your tracks and ask God to deliver you from this defeating attitude. See if that helps, and I believe that you will have great success in your home. So ladies, if you have a comment, I appreciate you leaving it. It just gives me more fuel. And to those of you who have contributed, and I just want to thank you so much. If I haven't got around to sending you a thank you email, I really, really appreciate it, because it helps me a lot, and I can use that. And please continue to have a positive attitude in your home, and be sure and get dressed every day and learn the art of the nap. And I guess that's about all that I can talk about today. Oh yes, I brought something here to show you. See, I'll do this. It's paper bag. Now here in America, we have these really thick paper bags. It's just really high grade. It's just thick, and so I'm not talking about the thin brown paper. But I, at one time on this blog, had done some paper bag crafts, and so I wrote down a lot of ideas that I had for things that you could do with a paper bag if that's all you had. Let's say you're not able to get some of the materials that you're used to having for crafts or sewing, what all you could do with a paper bag. And especially this kind, because this is real thick. And I learned this when I was growing up on the homestead, was about just about anything you wanted could either be made out of some kind of paper or cardboard, or you could sew it. Anything you wanted, once you learn to do that. And so I've written down a lot of things that I would like to do with this. You know, you can put some poster paint or craft paint on it and make a canvas to paint a picture. And you can make a book cover. Some of these have little really nice sturdy handles on them. I don't know if you've seen them, and they're doubled over and taped on. And you can make a book cover and have the handles on there. I want to show how to do that. And you can, I looked up on Pinterest, they're making garlands out of this and they're making roses out of this kind of stuff, just by the way that they're cut and folded. You can make a message board. Remember, we used to make a message board, and it would have a ribbon going across here and just tacked down, and then you could stick little things in it, little bills or cards or things that you needed to be reminded of. You can make a basket out of this, and we used to use them. You could actually use them if you didn't have a towel and you needed something to step out on after a bath or a shower. Just put one of these down. I also use them for my art classes, because I lay out I lay my little canvas and my paints and my water, and I stick everything on here, lay my brushes across it, and that way it doesn't get on the table. And so paper bag crafts, you can weave, you can cut it into strips, and you can weave mats out of it. You can also decorate it and make placemats. You can make a storage container. You can make signs. I once, oh, and I wish I had brought it to you, but someone made covers to put over, you know how you would, like in the olden days, get a tray and you were sick and there'd be a lid on top of it, and underneath would be all the food. Someone cut one of these in half, turned it upside down and decorated it, and made a handle for it, and to put over food while she was preparing, getting the food out for company for a tea, and she just wanted to have something over it. She put it over the sandwiches, and she put it over the cookies, and so she made a bunch of these. And the other thing was, you can make signs out of it. You can cut. You know how you go to Hobby Lobby, and there's a sign with a saying on it, and it'll say laugh or something. You can make things like that, and you can put a string on it and hang it, and all kinds of stuff for children's rooms. You can even make a jewelry bag. You can make, I made a hat one time out of it, which was really cute. And you can make I don't know what they called these, but they were like wall pockets. In the Victorian times, they would make wall pockets out of paper or whatever they had, and they'd hang on a doorknob or on a wall, and you would put something in it. I think I might still have that on my in past posts that I have put on there. We also use them for costumes sometimes. There was so much you could do with this. You could even make a pair of disposable slippers with all this. But like I say, this is the heavy. If any of you have ever gotten a package from somebody in America and they've hand wrapped it with this stuff, it's pretty heavy. And so we've done a lot of different things. I even once made a stuffed animal and a doll out of it. We learned, we had little contests, you know, to see what all you could do. Have a contest in your family and see what all you could do with a paper bag. And that'd be an activity I think, and I'd like to challenge you all. I hope you all accept the challenge to come out the other side of this more, more knowledgeable about something. Find something you'd like to learn about, and this is your chance. And learn about it. There's not all the distraction of the world now because you're in captivity. More knowledgeable about things. More knowledgeable about how to live, and more knowledgeable about other things too. And stronger. Take your exercises and get stronger. You might not think that you're getting stronger, but after a while you'll notice that you are. And so stronger, smarter, younger, and better looking. See if you can come out of the other side of this in triumph. And so I want to just challenge you to that. So, and remember, I'm very grateful that you came to visit a captive, and you've done a great thing. And so thanks a lot, and I love you all, and leave me a comment. Thank you. Bye.